A lot of you guys have asked me if I could record another AI automation agency course because the last one isn't up to date anymore because this whole industry has literally changed so much in the past few 10 months or something like this. And here is the updated version, and this is the content I will talk about today. So very briefly, what is an AI agency or AI automation agency? They're the same thing. And I will cover what kind of things has changed in this business model. Then what kind of mindset you need. Of course, in business in general, you need to have a solid mindset, but especially as an AI automation agency owner, you need to have a few key characteristics, which is a bit different to the other ones out there. Then I will teach you how you can learn the skills. So I will actually create a make.com and voice flow tutorial for you in this video. But of course, I will also link other resources which can help you along your learning journey. Then I will cover how you can get your first few clients. And then, of course, after that, how you can also scale. Even though this is a bit more advanced, it is still important to keep this in mind when you trying to acquire your first few clients. Then I will also show you how you can deliver the service. So also how you can onboard your clients, how you deliver the actual service, and other important things you need to know as an AI automation agency owner. Then, of course, I will also give you advanced marketing and sales tactics, which really requires a bit more knowledge than the general one like outreach, because you would need to build a personal brand. But I will link this at the end because this is the most advanced thing in this course. So what not to expect from this course is it's definitely not a get rich quick scheme. I can tell you it is important that you stay as long in business as you can in order to gain from this compound effect, which happens once you stack a lot of small steps over time on top of each other. And this can't happen if you hop on one trendy business model after the other. So if you wanted to start an AI automation agency and now you're hopping on a growth operating opportunity, that's fine. I've done it a lot before too. But at some point, you really need to lock in and decide which path do I want to go. But of course, on this path, you can be adaptable, but still keep in mind to be consistent with what you want to do. Then again, I don't want to push you in any of these business models. I just share what has worked for me and what is suited for me, because at the end, you need to look what is your skill set, what are your talents, what is your interests, and then at the end, combine these two things with hard work, you can essentially accelerate in business. So about my journey, I will briefly describe it really quickly. So it actually started in April 2022 when I decided to drop out of high school. Honestly, this was one of the biggest decisions I made in my life. I was pretty damn scared of it, but I have to say I'm really glad that I did it, because I wanted to become an entrepreneur. And for me, the traditional educational system couldn't fulfill my needs. So I decided to drop out. But the problem is I had literally no skill set. So I needed to learn everything from scratch. And I binge watched hours of YouTube videos, which was good because I learned a few things. But I was in this rat race of just watching hours of YouTube videos without taking any action, which is essentially just mental masturbation. So you're excited to start a business, but at the end, you literally do nothing. But then at some point, I got pretty tired of procrastinating so long. So I tried all sorts of business models like SMMA. I hopped on NFTs. I created a short form content agency, a metaverse agency. So I was always interested in tech, but essentially they all failed. But somehow I actually managed to get a job in Dubai, which was a really stepping stone for me because I was able to network with high level people there, like multimillionaires, and made a lot of high value friends there, which was a really big expansion for my mind. But the job was fine, but I realized I just didn't want to work in a 9 to 5, and I wanted to be a business owner. So I decided to quit after 3 weeks. But I was really, really fucked at this time because I had more or less no money in my bank account. I was actually in debt at that time. And this meant for me being a completely bankrupt 19-year-old in Dubai, a complete foreign city for me. And I actually needed to move into a 5 square meter room and living with 10 other people, which is, I know there's a lot of worse situations out there, and I'm still grateful to have like a room. Here's a video of it. It's still loading. But for me, I it just trembled because I had this idea in mind that I would become a successful entrepreneur, and now I was living in a really bad situation for my standards because I come from Switzerland, and of course the living quality there is much higher. So I think was a really valuable lesson for me also to see um, some simpler living standards. And I already know like there are even worse situations than these. So there I really learned about gratitude, to just be grateful to be able to build a business, and just to be grateful to follow my passion. And this drive and this pain I had at this time really flipped the switch for me. And I just needed to accept the whole truth that I was responsible for the situation I was in, and it wasn't the situation I hoped for. So it made sense for me to flip the switch and really focus on what really matters, and finally take action in the right direction. So I decided to learn one high income skill. It was AI automations because I was already interested in this industry. Then I started my AI automation agency, and after 1 month, I actually closed my first 2.9K retainer, which was insane. Actually, I got honestly pretty damn lucky there. But yeah, it was my first stepping stone in business. And along the journey, I built my small personal brand. And literally, I can tell you, I've already benefited from it so much, even though it's pretty small. I can tell you, everybody can do it, and it is, yeah, a huge benefit for you. And then I actually tried to build a team for my AI automation agency, but I completely failed because I didn't have the right leadership skills. So I learned a lot from this time again, but this was a huge setback for me. But at the end, I stuck with it. I focused and I learned the necessary skill and took actions. And now I'm managing more than 8 clients. At the moment, 6. Exactly. And this allowed me actually to move into my dream apartment. Of course, it's not a penthouse apartment yet because I was literally 6 months ago. After this happened, I was completely bankrupt. So I really needed to work my way up again. And I'm a guy who likes nature. So I'm really happy to have a site on the lake in Switzerland. So here I want to say suffering is not a bad thing. No matter in which situation you are, it can be fueled as motivation. So you can channel it essentially into motivation. So this is really the message I want to tell you. And I would say now let's really talk about the AI automation agency and how you can get started and what to follow essentially. So let me get back here. And let's talk about the fundamentals. So in simple terms, an AI automation agency is essentially a company who helps other companies build out AI and automation solutions. And this allows the company to have more streamlined operations, and that saves them time, that can increase their revenue, and all sorts of other benefits. But what has changed from now is that usually it was just chatbots and automations, but now we have a new thing coming up, which are AI agents. This is a really new trend which is happening at the moment, and it becomes easier day by day to build out these AI agents. So what are AI agents? It's essentially an AI that can act autonomously, meaning that it can fulfill action based on its inputs. It's not just generating text, it's actually also making actions on the internet. An example could be, it could research a certain topic. Based on this, it could write an article and it could actually post it on your blog. This could be an agent which you can develop already nowadays. Then what you can also do, which hasn't been discussed a lot, you can also build full software applications, not just chatbots and automations, but like full AI apps. This is, in my opinion, also an AI automation agency, even though it goes more into the direction of SaaS. And at the end, we don't know where this field is heading. So a lot of things can still happen and this business model can evolve. So about the tool stack, and I've included the no-code tool stack because I know a lot of you don't know how to code. And I personally also didn't know how to code, and I still don't write any line of code in my service delivery. So I really just use no code tools, which are so powerful nowadays. And for chatbots and AI agents, use VoiceFlow is for chatbots. Then Relevance AI is for AI agents, and LangChain is a framework which combines all sorts of AI or LLMs or AI models essentially, and it allows you to easily build out AI apps. And LangChain is with code, and Flowwise is the no code version. So I will share, of course, this document with you so that you can click on these links and find your tool stack essentially. And don't worry, these aren't affiliate links. Yeah. Then there's the automation tool stack, which is mainly Make. If you're a beginner, you should maybe go with Zapier, even though it's quite expensive and it's pretty shitty in comparison to Make. And then for software development, go with Bubble.io. Sorry about that. Yeah, exactly. Now let's talk about the AAA mindset, which you really need to have if you want to accelerate in this industry. So first of all, this is quite obvious, but we all have some kind of limiting beliefs. They can come from our childhood or from our teachers or our parents who tell us, for example, this isn't possible. You can't be a successful business owner. Only 1% of the people make it, and you're not one of them. This could be something, a limiting belief which got imprinted into your mind, but it isn't true, because literally the reality you perceive right now is just a reflection of your inner state of being. Let me repeat this. So what you're currently experiencing, if it is a shitty situation, or if you are in a bad financial situation, it is because of your current state of mind, and this mind actually creates your whole situation. So what you need to do is to reprogram your mind, and this is pretty damn hard, because 95% of our mind is subconscious, meaning subconscious means we are not aware of it. So we have this program running in our head at all the time, and most of this program can be pretty shitty. And if we actually reprogram our mind, we are able to reprogram our actions, and our actions create our habits, and our habits create our reality. So you see where I'm going here. So you can really start to reprogram your mind through meditation or journaling. And then, of course, as mentioned before, you need to be in the game for a long time. So you need to adopt long-term thinking. And this requires, of course, patience. But long-term thinking only works if you are also in a secure financial situation. So, of course, you first need to solve your financial problems, and then you are able to actually see a longer time horizon. Because if you're in financial problems, you are just living month per month, and this is a pretty problematic state in business. Then you value effectiveness over efficiency. What do I mean with this? At the end, what matters is output. What really matters is output. So you could become a very efficient, let's say a very, very efficient 9 to 5 worker. You could maybe get a promotion by this, but your income would always be capped. And in comparison to an entrepreneur who might work half the time, meaning 4 hours a day, he could earn 10 times more than the 9 to 5 person, because they choose a more effective tasks. And nowadays, you really want to focus on leveraged activities such as building a business, building a personal brand, and investing is also something, but most likely you don't have a lot of capital. So it might make more sense to actually focus on creating capital and then investing it later on. Then, of course, you need to be extremely adaptable. This is especially important for this industry here in the AI industry. And you need to be a fast learner, because at the end, the people who are at the front, at the complete edge of technology, are usually the ones who will benefit from it the most. But of course, you still need to have the skills of sales and marketing to actually distribute your knowledge and your solutions. Without this, you won't get any customers. Exactly. Now, let's actually talk about offer creation so that you can get your first few customers. And essentially, you have a couple of options in this industry and just in general. You can either be very specific with your target audience. meaning you could say, I help real estate agencies implement AI solutions and automations into their workflows. Or with target audience, I also mean company size. So you could say, I help medium-sized companies who have employees between 200 and thousands, 1,000 employees, streamline their operations. Essentially, this could be very specific with your target audience, or you can be very specific with the service. So you could say, I only serve people who need chatbots, and you could even be more specific, I only build out customer support chatbots. So these two are great to really scale your operations. Or there's also the third option, which isn't that advisable, which is the all-rounder. You just do everything, because there's a saying, if you try to serve everyone, you serve nobody. So it might make sense to be a bit specific, but my advice for you as a beginner would be learn one skill. In this sense, I mean one platform. So this could be, let's say, voice flow. Just learn voice flow really, really well and start freelancing with this skill, because you will really waste your time if you want to build a Grand Slam offer, because you most likely don't have the knowledge to actually sell the product. And you don't even know if you have a product market fit. So it is easier to maybe start with freelancing and companies coming to you with requests instead of you trying to create an offer. Exactly. And you can start with freelancing on Upwork or Fiverr. I will show you this later on. Exactly. At the end, focus on what matters. Don't get lost in this business guru cycle where people tell you create a Grand Slam offer and then start to do outreach with it. Yes, this might work at some point, but if you're a beginner, focus on learning the skill, focus on getting your first customer, and this can be through your network or other areas. I will share this later on. And then think about how to scale, and then think about how you can create your Grand Slam offer once you have a couple of clients and you have revenue coming into the door. So let me go back into client acquisition. So let's talk about how you can actually acquire your first few clients. And in the beginning, I know it really sucks. I've done it for more than 3 clients. I think I offered free work, and essentially what it allows you to gain is experience. You are able to get great case studies if you deliver great work, and this is a requirement for being a service business. And you can tap in their network, so you could deliver a great service for your free clients, and they could refer you to other business owners, because usually business owners know other business owners. So this is really a great ripple effect. You can start with offering free work. But the question is, where do you even find these people? Honestly, your network. I know you might think you don't have a network, but you can tap into the network of your network. With what I mean with this is, you can ask your friends or your parents if they know somebody who owns a business, and if they could make a contact with you if you don't know any business owners. So already with this network effect, you will have at least 500 to 1,000 people you could potentially contact in some way. And essentially let them ask around for you. This is also something you need to learn, to delegate things, but of course you don't pay them. So be really polite to these people if they do this for you. And then what I really can recommend, which I used a lot in the beginning, and I actually acquired my first big client in a business networking event. And another great way to acquire your first few clients is through Upwork and Fiverr. Even though the pay is pretty low, at the end it's still better to get paid a little than just don't get paid for doing hours of YouTube research, which is more or less a waste of time, instead of taking action. Then outreach, I have actually a full guide in my school community how you can automate your outreach, but it's honestly pretty hard nowadays because it's so oversaturated. And then another great thing how you can acquire your clients is actually through agencies in your niche. So actually agencies who deliver the exact same service, you can become a subcontractor of them. So essentially you contact them and ask them if you could work as a freelancer for them. and take on a few projects if they have an overload. And this actually worked pretty well for me. So I have a couple of partner agencies who occasionally give me projects. And then this is a long-term play, which is a bit harder, is start your personal brand. It is so worth it. I can't talk about this too much. And then, of course, let's talk about scaling. It is quite simple, but essentially you leverage your case studies and you target bigger companies. The question is why? Because of course you can work with clients who have, let's say, 5 to 10 employees. You can have an impact there, but usually they don't even have systems established in the company which can automate. So it's a long process to actually implement systems and then automate them. So it might make more sense to actually go to a bigger company who already have a lot of systems. And the impact of the automations you make is so huge, because you might just save the team 30 minutes per day. But if the team is consists of 100 people, you would essentially save them 50 hours per day, which is a lot of money in this case. And let's say 50 hours and they all cost $100. Actually, it's 5,000. Sorry about that. And my last advice for scaling is actually hire slow. I did the mistake. I wanted to hire a team really quickly, but at the end, you need to first understand your own systems, and you only want to work with high quality people. So now let's talk about actually how you can deliver your service. And usually the way I do it is I write a contract with ChatGPT. I'm not a lawyer, so don't take my word for it. But usually it actually writes pretty reliable contracts. And the great thing, I didn't need to hire a lawyer for the contracts. Then in the first step, you really want to have access to all the logins of your clients' tools, which you want to automate or integrate with the chatbot. So I recommend you use LastPass with this, so that they can share the passwords for these applications with you, because it's a really pain if you start out developing and then you first need to request all the passwords, and then it's a back and forth game. So do this at the client onboarding step. Then define a timeline and manage it in a project management tool. And it's great that you also have a bit of pressure, or I personally work much better under pressure, because if I don't have a timeline, I just do nothing, which is a bit problematic, honestly. But it's just how I operate. So I set myself with the client a timeline, so that we also can set expectations for the service delivery. Then always start with the flowchart in Miro or Figma and illustrate what the architecture of the solution will look like. I will show this actually in the next step with the make.com automation, so that you and your client actually understand what you're developing. So it's just a great visual way to understand the solution you want to build. Then build out a minimum viable product, MVP. And based on this, you want to get client feedback to improve the end product, because at the end, I really recommend to make a sub stage to gain more clarity on what the end solution should look like. Because of course, at the end, you will start with the offer and you will start with a brief concept, but most likely it will change along the development process. So I recommend to have a sub-step with an MVP. And then, of course, at the end, monitor based on what kind of contract you have. It will look a bit different. Yes. Actually, I'm not sure if I missed something. Exactly. Here, I actually missed the sales and pricing page, because let's talk about how you can actually sell your services to interested clients. And first of all, in sales, you don't want to overwhelm your client with technical stats and technical information. What you really want to show them is what kind of outcome they get from the solution. So you sell them essentially the vacation on the Bahamas where they're just drinking the smoothie because the whole business is automated. But essentially sell the outcome. And the outcome is most likely time savings, less staff needed, and higher leverage in the business, more clarity, things like this. Yeah, you can get creative with this. Then in the sales process, try to identify as much pain points as possible. So your main job is not to sell, it's actually identifying problems you can solve with your solutions. So understand what they're currently struggling with, what causes the most pain for them. And exactly, you can actually agitate, meaning make them clear that they're really losing money with this pain point they have, so that the pain even grows further, because the bigger the pain, the more likely they're actually to buy from you and buy or pay a lot of money for the solution, because they want to have it out of the way. Then what you want to do is define a desired outcome they want to have. So after you have identified the problem, you want to identify the destination you want to lead them. And then the next step is education. This is a bit different to other sales strategies, because in AI, you really first need to educate your customer, because most likely they have no damn clue what you're actually serving and how this whole thing works. So you need to have a small education block in your sales call, so that they really understand what kind of value you provide for the business. And then you will pitch your solution, and then most likely they will give an objection to you. So you really need to be a bit more persistent and objection handle their concerns with the problem and the desired outcome. Meaning, if they say the cost is too high, then remind them how much money they're losing on a daily basis because of their pain points, and remind them on where they want to go, and tell them why your solution will actually help them to get to their desired outcome. So this is actually a pricing range which is more for beginners. And with beginners, I mean people who have maybe served already 3 clients and have a couple of case studies. So you can range the chatbot between 1,500 for a very, very basic one. And it can go up to 5,000, but of course it could even go much, much higher depending on the complexity. But this is just like for beginners. And then automation can start maybe with 1,000, also go up to 5,000. So now I would actually show you how you can deliver the services. So I will teach you how you can get started with make.com, and then also VoiceFlow. And of course, stay tuned and try also to take action. So based on these steps I've gave you here, try to make a brief business plan on what kind of things you want to serve in your AI automation agency, make a brief understanding of your offer, essentially. And yeah, now it's time to learn the actual skills. Today, I will talk about the most important skill you can learn in this decade, which is AI and automation. And for this, I will share you the platform make.com. If you already know it, great. If not, this is a crash course how you can essentially learn this platform as fast as possible and build out AI automations. And for those who want to learn a bit faster and also want to have a community of like-minded people where I also share more resources and live calls, you can definitely join the school community. It's the first link in the description. With this said, let's first understand what Make actually is. And you can imagine it like the glue of the internet. So what it does, it actually connects all your apps you use on a daily basis with each other, so that they can communicate with each other. They can send data to each other. They can tell when there's a new item in my Google Sheets, send it to me via email. And this is an automation you can build out in make.com. And for this, you need to connect the apps with each other using the API. So the API is the application programming interface. And now please take a breath, because it isn't that complicated as it sounds. Essentially, what you do, you send requests and responses between these APIs. So let me give you an example. So let's say we want to get the data from the Google Sheets. So we want to communicate with the Google Sheets API. So we are the client, and it's like in a restaurant. So I want to order, let's say, pizza. And then this request will be sent to Google Sheets. And this is the part where the API is important, because it connects these two parts with each other. Your request and you as the client, and the server, meaning the Google Sheets server. And this is the middleman. So the API is the middleman. And who is the middleman? It is the server. Sorry, it is the, honestly, I don't know how it is called in English, but the person who serves the food. But essentially, then you send the request, it will go to the server, and later on you get the response, meaning the food. So this is a simple example of how an API actually works. And the great thing is nowadays, almost any platform has an API, or you can build an API for any platform. So you can connect literally anything with each other. And also you can connect OpenAI to all the apps on the internet essentially. So this is really, really powerful so that you can build out sophisticated AI solutions. And here's a brief overview of what make.com is good for. So you can definitely automate your marketing stuff, your sales, your operations, your customer experience, your finance, meaning your accounting, stuff like this, IT, then human resources, HR, and just overall productivity. So you can literally do anything with this platform if you understand the fundamentals. And this is what I'm going to talk about today. So if you go down here, the question is, how do you get started as fast as possible? And what is really important with make.com automations? So first of all, it is important that you understand these few things here. Your automations will be as good as your automation skills in general. This makes sense. But it's not only this. You can be a good automation guy or a girl, whatever you are. And then you have the use case, and then you have also the system. So depending on all of these things, you will see how good the output actually is. So let's say your use case is really bad, but your automation skills is good and the system overall is good, then it won't have a big output because the use case just sucks. So you get the point here. So you really need to evaluate all of these three to become a really good automation expert. And generally spoken, you always, or in the best case, you start out with a flowchart. This whole thing here is a flowchart if you don't know, so that you understand the logic of the automation. And as soon as you have understand the logic, you want to build out the smallest prototype you can build out so that you get as fast as possible to testing essentially, because there is where you really learn when you test and iterate. So with this intro, I think this is enough for you to know about automations and make.com in general, so that we can hop directly into it and build out our automation out. So now I'm here in make.com. So just create an account really quickly. I think in the beginning it is actually free. But as soon as you want to build out more sophisticated AI automations and stuff like this, you will probably need to upgrade, but it is quite cheap. I think $12 per month or something like this. So let's look at the interface here. So here you can build out folders. I've created one really quickly, YouTube tutorial here. Then you have the team section where you can potentially invite collaborators. You have templates from make.com, which we'll look at later on. Here you can put in your connections, which you use on a regular basis. These are webhooks. I think as a beginner, you don't know what webhooks are, but that's fine. Then here are the keys. But I would say let's just create our first scenario. So let's just hop directly into the make.com builder. So as you can see, let me put this up here. So as you can see here, you can essentially add apps. So let's say I want to add the Google Sheets as mentioned before. Then you can select this. And as you can see, here are triggers and actions. And what is a trigger? A trigger is as soon as something happens in Google Sheets, this means maybe a new row has been created or something has changed in the Google Sheets, this will trigger an automation. And an action is when you want to change something in the Google Sheets at a later time. So a trigger is usually the beginning, like watch changes. And then of course, as soon as something changes, you could potentially send these changes via Gmail, create a draft, for example. But now that you understand the difference, if you look here at actions, it only shows us actions because we can't do a trigger within the automation, because the trigger is always the beginning of the automation. So here you see a lightning bolt. This indicates that this is a trigger. Exactly. So let me delete this. and we will build out a proper AI automation later. I just want you to understand a few basic concepts. Then here, down here, you can save your AI automations. Here are the settings, which can be a bit complicated in the beginning, so I leave this out. Here you can include notes. Uh, Here you just align the scenario. So if you look at this, and then I just put this here. When I say align, it will just align it. So it's not really that necessary, but it's nice to have. And here you can explain the flow. This is actually very nice because you understand what kind of logic is behind this. And this is something that I've just seen right now, or this morning actually. So make.com has actually included an AI assistant which will help you to set up your workflows easily by just prompting in what you want. So let's say we want to do this. Let's see what happens. And as you can see, it actually built out the AI automation for you using Gmail, Google Sheets, OpenAI, and Slack. But today, it is, in my opinion, really important that you understand the fundamentals so that you can build out your own AI automations without the help of an AI assistant. And down here, you have the schedule setting. This means how often should this automation run? Because you can run it every day. This means it will run every day at this time here, or you can do it at more regular intervals. And this is really important because in make.com we have operations, and operations are the things, or better said, make.com counts how many times your workflows go through. And based on this, they charge you money. So it makes sense to make your automations as efficient and as effective as possible. So you don't want to waste your operations, because I had this in the beginning where I just said run it every 15 minutes, and I ran out of operations a couple of days later because I didn't realize it would suck so much operations. So it is really important that you also have this in mind to think how should this automation should be designed that it is sustainable in the long term. But now I would actually say let's build out our first AI automation. So as mentioned before, the best way to start an automation is actually by scripting it out in a flowchart. So today what we will build out is a customer support automation analysis. So to clarify this a bit more, we want to understand what kind of process a business has in their customer support. And based on this, we want to generate an analysis. And for this, we will use AI. So let me show you how this could work. So first of all, we will ask them a few questions, and we do this with the Google Forms. Yeah, there we just ask them, how they manage the customer support. So this up here is the trigger. The trigger is something we have talked about a couple of minutes ago. This will be the trigger. Oops, good. So the next step of the automation is actually to send the results to ChatGPT. And what will ChatGPT do? ChatGPT will generate us an analysis and action plan. And then we want to essentially store this data. We want to store this data in a Google Docs, because we just can't just send it to him over in a magical way. We want to essentially have it for him in a more clearer structure in a Google Docs. And from there, we will send him this Google Docs via email. So this here will be our automation. We start with the Google Forms. As soon as somebody has responded to the Google Forms, we will send this data to ChatGPT. Then we will send it to a Google Docs, and then this Google Docs will be sent via email. So I would say let's just
build out this automation. In order to build out this automation, we need to do a couple of preparations. And first of all, we of course need a Google Forms. So I've created a simple one really quickly where I just ask, how do you manage your customer support? And to which email can I send you the results? What we also need is a Google Docs where we want to store the information essentially. And I've created this one here. And this is something that can be quite new for people who haven't done automations yet. And these curly braces here just indicates that this is a variable, and a variable is a place where we can store information. It's like in math, for those who hated math, uh, variables like x is can be just stores potential data. And here we will essentially send the results from OpenAI, from ChatGPT, in here to ChatGPT results. And then later on, we will send this Google Docs via email. And how this all works is something I can show you here in make.com. So first of all, we start with the Google Forms. So let's start with Google Forms. And what we want is we want to watch responses. So as soon as somebody responds to our Google Forms, this will trigger the automation. So let me search for the form. And I have here a couple ones. Let me check this one. Is it? Exactly. Then I just press OK. So what is the next step? I want to connect it to ChatGPT. So I'll include ChatGPT. And here are a lot of things you can do. But the one we want to do is create a completion. So this is essentially just sending a prompt to ChatGPT and it will generate you an answer. But of course, you could potentially also generate images for other scenarios. Exactly. Then I have already connected my OpenAI account. But if you haven't, you need to press add here. And you also need to include your API key, which you can find on OpenAI. If you don't know how to do this, just search in the web for OpenAI API key, and then you will find a guide where you can find the API key, and then you just paste it in here as you will get instructed. Then I will select the the method, sorry. The model is down here. Let's use GPT-4. And then I want to add a message. And here you choose a role, which isn't that important. Just use assistant and then the message content. And as you can see here are already the values from the Google Forms. So this is really the power of these APIs. You can send data between these apps. And what we want to do, we will make it really simple with bad prompting now. Based on the information given, generate me an analysis and recommendation of how the business can leverage automation and AI in their customer support. And then here you can put in the information by just searching for the answers. Here's an answer. And then you need to go down here to text answers and until down here where the value is. So this can be quite confusing in the beginning, I know. But essentially, you first need to look at these areas and search what you're actually looking for, and we're looking for answers. And then which question is it? And as you can see, the question ID is not something that interests us. So we search further down and we look for the feedback, the text answers, and then down here, choose the value. Good. Then we go further and we send this to Google Docs. Great. And what we want to do is we want to create something, we want to create a Google Docs from a template. Let me check where it is. So I was pretty much blind, so it was just here. So create a document from a template. Then I've already created my connection, but it is really as simple as just log into your Google as soon as you will get requested. Like if you just press here on add, you can sign in with your Google account. Then search for the document ID. This is essentially just searching for the document, and I have it in the folder YouTube test. And as you can see, here's the customer support automation possibilities. Here's the area where you could also potentially use some things from the forums. For example, you could use the email, which is a very bad name of the document. So let's just make it test. Then, as you can see here, ChatGPT results is what we have created in here. So make.com has seen that this is a variable and included it in here. So we can include things, data essentially in here. And for this, we want to use the results from OpenAI. And this, we do this by choices, message, content. But the problem here is we haven't generated anything yet, so it won't really see the results yet, but we will just include it in here. Exactly. And then the question is, where is the location? It will be in my drive. And let's clarify the location again. And this will be in the folder YouTube test. Good. Exactly. So I would say let's test this for once. And we do this by, first of all, previewing this, where I can answer a few things. So I say, we manage it manually. We have an support agent who manages all requests via SMS. You can send it to this Gmail here. Great. So now that we have sent the answers here, we can now test our automation in here in make.com. And we do this by telling it run once. And now let's see what happens. There has been a result. So as you can see up here, there has been an answer. How do you manage your customer support exactly? And if you go down here, text answers, put in, we manage it manually. So this is exactly what I've written down there. And this result will be sent to ChatGPT essentially. And as you can see, it's still loading. It takes some time. And I'm actually not sure if it will work, because usually you already need a data set and then include it into the automation to make it happen. But we could fix this if there's an issue. Yeah, it takes some time, actually uncommonly long, but we have the result. Did it generate anything? As you can see, it didn't have the information we fetched it in. It's actually a problem. So it won't have anything good. Yeah. As you can see, it has just generated something out of the blue. So this isn't something we want. But as we can see, it still has actually worked. If we look down here, it has generated a document. If you see the results in here. So this is actually pretty nice, but the only step which hasn't really worked is here. So let me fix this really quickly. So we will take this away. And now that we have an answer stored in here, it will be much clearer, because now we see the value here. So we see actually what has been answered in the Google Forms. So let's include this, and we could potentially give it another run. Yeah, but overall, this would be the automation. Now, what we want to do is we send this via Gmail, send an email, subject could be analysis of customer support. The content will be, hi there, you just thank them for participating. Thanks for participating. Here is the link to the Google Docs. Then what you try to find here is the link to the Google Docs. Let me actually check where it is. I will probably make a cut here until I find it. I think it will be the web view link. This is the thing with make.com. You might understand the platform, but you always also need the knowledge about the specific tools you want to use, meaning Google Docs. So you need to understand all this lingo here, but you will get used to it really quickly, and it will be most likely the web view link. So I would say let's just test this again. So now that we have this automation done, I will actually just use the answer here. I will just copy and paste it to check if it has worked. So let me fill out these forms again. Do this by previewing it. I will just copy and paste the same thing in here. It should send it to my email. And let's submit it again. And now let's run it again for another time. Okay, why not? Okay, I believe this isn't done yet. 1 second. Of course, you need to find, add the recipient, to whom do we want to send it. And the great thing is we have this data in here. Text answers. It is this email here. Then is there anything else we need to include? I don't think so. We will save this really quickly. And now let's try to run it. Now let's see if it has gotten the responses from the Google Forms into ChatGPT, because these two connections, they actually work. So message, and as you can see, it has worked. So sometimes it is all about testing it again. And now we can check it in the Google Drive folder, where we have, or we should have, another test document. And we will look at the one created at 11:25. And as you can see, it has generated perfectly fine recommendations for the results. And in the last step, I will check if I have got it in my email inbox. I won't show you this. I've got it here. So great, everything has worked. So as you can see, this is how you can build out an AI automation using make.com. If you want, I can share other ones with you. And as mentioned before, in the school community, there's much more resources you can check out. Something I can also recommend is using the templates, because here you can find a lot of different things which can be interesting to build out. And it is essentially just plug and play. So you just choose a template here, for example, and then it will even guide you with the setup. So it will help you set up this automation, which is really, really great about make.com. And I believe this is all you need to get started. If you have any questions, feel free to send them into the school community, and I'll be there to help you out. So yeah, see you in the next one.